Hello everyone, welcome to Carnivore Sweden. This will be my first international interview, so this will be interesting. And today I have with me Kerry from Homestead How. So welcome, Kerry.
Thank you so much for having me. I appreciate it. I think this is probably the first time I've chatted with a carnivore from Sweden, other than maybe in the comments. So looking forward to it.
Yeah, it's not that popular here yet, but we will change that
Soon,
soon. Right,
right?
right. So could you give everyone like a brief introduction, even though probably most people know who you are?
Sure. Yeah, my name is Kerry. I'm filming a documentary called Healing Humanity, which it's all about a proper human diet. For me, that's a carnivore diet. I'm very passionate about this way of eating because it's changed my life forever. I'm down over 100 pounds since my heaviest, but I overcame so many health issues, snoring, IBS, arthritis. The worst of it for me was just a lifelong battle I had with depression and anxiety. I was on so many medications. I always show people all this crazy medication I was on. And after finding a proper human diet about 550 days ago, I fixed all of those things. I'm on zero medications and I feel incredible. And I thought this is just some weird, crazy thing with me. And then I started hearing all of these stories from other people all over the world finding similar healing. And then I started realizing this isn't even like we're eating meat and then we're getting better. Like the meat's the medicine. It's just that we're getting the heck out of the way and not putting all of the garbage in that we've normalized as humans. And when you just let your body do what it was naturally intended to do, everything heals, everything gets better. It's pretty remarkable. So I started hearing more and more stories. I got really passionate and we decided to do this documentary. And then I've been doing YouTube videos, interviewing people all over the world and some of the good doctors about the carnivore diet.
Yeah, nice. So you started with the lion diet, right? Like only meat, or do you still do the lion diet?
I actually I did ketogenic diet many years ago, on and
Okay.
off, and I could never maintain it. I noticed a little bit of help with my depression and anxiety, but uh, all those keto snacks and stuff like that came about. Plus, I realized if I'm getting carbohydrates, they're breaking down into my blood as glucose. It doesn't matter if it's a candy bar or an apple. It's all the same as it when it breaks down to glucose. So I was kind of trying to moderate my addiction with keto, and that never worked. But when I started officially like carnivore 550 days ago, I did carnivore diet for I think about 70 days, and then I jumped into lion diet, which is a little bit stricter, just beef, salt, and water. And I did that for a couple months, and then I went back to carnivore, and now I've been doing lion diet for about 2 months now, just pretty much just beef, salt, and water.
Okay, nice. And you found from the beginning, you found it through Jordan Peterson, right?
A
Or you
little
heard of
bit.
it?
Yeah, I was watching YouTube and the first time I came across carnivore, like honestly, I don't even think I would have known what carnivore was. If you would have asked me before, I would have been like, that's that crazy like liver guy on YouTube or whatever. Like I don't even know. Like animals in the wild, there's carnivores. I didn't know this was a thing. I saw Dante Ferrigno from the channel Ferrigno Freedom, and he's just an individual YouTuber who did the lion diet. And I saw a video, and he said, "I'm gonna eat meat. That's all I'm gonna do." And I'm like, "You're insane. You're gonna die. You're gonna have a heart attack. You can't just eat meat. You're gonna get bored." I'm like, "There's so many issues with this," but it really clicked with me because he had so many of my health issues, and he was so fired up about it. And I knew a little bit about keto from doing that years ago. So, like, from the biological science perspective, I'm like, that should work if you eat only meat. I know it works on a ketogenic diet. It's just a stricter ketogenic diet, what he's doing. And then I realized that his video was 2 years old. I was watching an old video of Dante. So I'm like, let's fast forward and see the most recent video. There's no way this guy's still eating meat 2 years later. And so I looked at his most recent video and I could not recognize him. My jaw dropped. I started, my wife and I were watching, I started clapping. I'm like, this is crazy. He lost all of his weight. He had a huge smile on his face. He had a lot of issues I had with IBS and mental health issues. And he just looked like a whole new person. But I still thought this is insane. He's an outlier. He's just a weirdo. And so then I did more research and I saw Jordan Peterson on Joe Rogan. And
Oh,
Jordan Peterson said, I stopped snoring the first week on carnivore. And that really caught my attention because I've been snoring for years. I had a CPAP machine I had to strap to my face every night. Like I've literally probably almost died in my sleep because I'd stop breathing over and over and over again throughout the night. So I heard Jordan Peterson say that. I was like, he's a pretty smart guy. He's a professor. I shouldn't just do carnivore because a smart professor, Jordan Peterson's doing it. But I'm like, it's definitely worth more investigation. And then I found Dr. Ken Berry, and I probably watched like 1,000 of his videos. I just couldn't stop. I'm like, what is he trying to sell? Like, what is the gimmick? What is his motivation? There's got to be some diet program he's going to sell me for $10,000 or something I got to sign up for. And I never found it. I'm like, at the end of watching all those videos, I'm like, this is just free. He's already given me the information. It's just free. Like, eat a proper natural human diet, meat that humans have been eating since the start of time, and you'll heal everything. You don't have to give me any money or anything. And that was when I eventually started it after. I didn't start it until I did a whole bunch of research, which is what I encourage a lot of people to do.
yep.
But it was ultimately some Ken Berry videos, Dr. Berry videos that convinced me.
Okay, cool. It's interesting that like a very famous psychiatrist, Jordan Peterson, he has done so much, but now it's like this thing that many people awakes to, like carnivore. Many like found it through Jordan Peterson, so he might even do more in that area, which is a bit surprising for me.
Yeah. Well, just real quick, you know, a crazy thing. Jordan Peterson has inspired so many people to do carnivore. I've been getting so many comments on my carnivore videos over the last 550 days, and it was one of the most popular. Like I always ask people, "How did you find this?" And it's usually I saw Jordan Peterson on Joe Rogan,
Yeah.
and then I went and saw Dr. Sean Baker or Dr. Chafee or Dr. Barry, and I decided to do it after listening to the doctors. But a couple of months ago, I got an email, and the person said, I've been watching your carnivore YouTube videos, Kerry, and I've been really enjoying them. And I'd like to invite you on my podcast. And it was signed Tammy Peterson. And
Oh,
I'm like, what? This is crazy. Tammy Peterson's watching my little YouTube channel. And so I went on her podcast and I asked her, I begged her. I didn't even have to beg her because she's so nice, but I'm like, please, Tammy Peterson. Tammy Peterson was diagnosed with stage 4 terminal cancer. And she's been doing carnivore for years and just thriving. And so has her husband, and so has her daughter. I said, would you please be in our documentary, Healing Humanity, where we have a whole segment in there about cancer. You had cancer, you've been doing carnivore. Long story short, she agreed. And then she said, Jordan watched your trailer and he tweeted it out. So he tweeted out our teaser trailer to his 6 million subscribers on Twitter. It's so surreal to me. I'm just like, I watched you on Jordan Peterson, like I'm a huge fan, and now you were watching my little YouTube video. It's really crazy what's happened over the course of my carnivore journey.
nice. So is she Tammy Peterson? Is will she be in the documentary or?
She will. We're going to film her in January.
Damn,
So I'm really looking forward to that at her home in Arizona.
cool. So let's talk about the documentary a bit. First of all, what's like the motivation behind it? How do you find that drive to do such a thing?
Yeah, some of it was just stupidity. Honest, if I'm being honest,
Okay.
you get this carnivore energy, and you can feel like you can do anything. And you're like, I'm gonna do a documentary. It was day 67. I was on carnivore, and my daughter was vegan for 5 years. My daughter Emma. My wife and I have triplets plus one. We have four girls. My daughter Emma was vegan for 5 years, and when she decided to go vegan, it was because she saw a film on Netflix that, if I'm being honest and frank, I think it was vegan propaganda. It was misleading. It was meant to kind of capture young people and try to convince them that the world would be a better place if they just ate plants. And my wife and I heard that she was doing this, and we're like, this is just a phase. Like she'll like a week or something, she'll be done. And I was in the standard American brain fog. I know it's not good to make excuses for bad parenting, but we just allowed it to go on and on. She ended up being vegan for 5 years. When I was doing carnivore, she saw me thriving. I never forced her. I never even asked her. I never thought she would switch from vegan to carnivore, but she did. And she decided to on her own. She was struggling so bad doing a plant-based diet. She was fatigued. She had a whole bunch of acne. She's falling asleep at like 6 o'clock at night and just so tired all the time. She did a full, just complete reversal, went from vegan to doing carnivore and just started thriving. Her face cleared up, her energy improved. But she had this rule. She's like, I'm not going to eat any meat unless I know it was raised humanely. I don't want like feedlot meat. So a lot of the meat we get is from our neighbor. We see the cows in the field. They're just grazing naturally in a field. It's the most natural thing in the world. They have a long, happy life. They die. We get hundreds of meals. I truly believe carnivore is the most compassionate diet there can be. So my daughter, Emma, I started calling her. I'm like, you were vegan because you love animals. You're now like the compassionate carnivore. And then she made a shirt. And we're like, let's sell the shirt. And then I paused and I'm like, I don't want to profit off of this. I'm having all these carnivore epiphanies, and one of them is I feel like I was so sick and on all of this crazy medication because of just greed run amok. Getting kids hooked on sugar from a young age. They're sugar consumers their entire life. They get sick. They get on all that medication. They go to the doctor, and it's just this circle. And it makes all of these industries, big food, big pharma, big medicine, billions and billions of dollars at the expense of our health. I don't think it's just one mean, evil entity. I just think it's greed run amok. So long story short, when we decided to sell that shirt, I'm like, I don't want to make any money off this. What if we did a documentary like that one I saw about a ketogenic diet years and years ago? I said, Dr. Berry, Dr. Baker, Dr. Chafee, these guys are incredible. They're reaching a ton of people on YouTube. But there's only a small set of weirdos like me that are on YouTube regularly. There's a lot more people using it now, but there's a ton of people that never go on YouTube or will never see this message. I'm like, why isn't there a documentary about carnivore diet? There's tons of them on ketogenic diet. And so on day 67, with my daughter Emma wearing a compassionate carnivore shirt, I said, we're going to do a documentary about the carnivore diet, and we want to do it differently. We don't want to just get into all of the science, although that's going to be in the documentary, but we want to focus on these incredible stories. You can't argue, everyone argues with the science, argue with it all you want. It's hard to argue with results. When you hear individuals saying, I did this for a year, this is what happened. I'm not telling people like, hey, you should do the carnivore diet like I did. I just want to do a documentary where we show tons of stories from individuals with different health issues and what happens over the course of a year. I guess it's a little bit of a spoiler alert, but it seems like we still have a couple more that we're filming that haven't hit a year yet, but almost every single one of them, they just heal incredibly. But we're really focused on the emotional stories of individuals. But on top of that, we have all the good doctors, Dr. Berry, Dr. Baker, Dr. Chafee, Dr. Kiltz, Philip Ovadia, they're all in the documentary. Dr. Tony Hampton is as well.
Yeah, I watched the trailer. Really, really good. It looks really
Oh,
professional.
thank you.
And yeah, I felt for especially that clip with a very overweight guy sitting in Alaska. Did you did he start carnivore also after this, or maybe it's a spoiler?
No, I'm happy. It's a great question. So I appreciate you mentioning that trailer. That was the one that Jordan Peterson tweeted out as well. And we've actually come pretty far since that trailer. But yeah, the first thing on the professional side that you mentioned, I appreciate that you mentioned that. Huge shout out. We have a huge team of volunteers that are helping me, including my buddy Adam from Carnivore Today. He's a really good cinematographer. Another guy named John Morton's helping me film and edit a bunch of this stuff. So we've actually compiled a team. We have like 11 people that are helping me. So huge shout out to all. They're just volunteers, and they found healing and they want to share it with the world. That's one of these themes I've been finding. Which I'm really happy you said that about the quality, because when I first announced this on day 67, I'm like, I'm just going to take a phone and like, it's just the stories, right? Like we're going to film anything. But now our goal is to get on the big screen and to get on Netflix. Just to get on Netflix, you have to have this very expensive cinema grade camera. And so we've done fundraising. We built all that up, all of our equipment now. We're setting the stage so that we can get on the big screen and hopefully one of these big streaming services like Netflix. But back to Bill, who you mentioned. So Bill was 700 pounds stuck in his house in Alaska. He was stuck in his house for 4 years. He was too big to leave. He was so overweight, he couldn't even stand up straight. He was hunched over. He had a little toilet about 6-7 feet from his bed. He was the first person we filmed for the documentary who we're going to film over 1 year. So some of that footage that you mentioned, that was from 1 year ago when we went to film him. My daughter, Emma, the one that Compassionate Carnivore, her and I went to film him ourselves 3 weeks after meeting him online. He saw one of my YouTube videos. He said, I'm going to die if I don't change. I think carnivore could save my life, but I'm depressed. I'm anxious. I'm stuck in my house, and meat in Alaska is so expensive. I don't think I can afford to do this. And I commented back to him, I'm like, I will help you. I'll set up a fundraiser. I even told him, I said, I'm not rich, but I will pay for meat for 30 days if you want to try this for 30 days. And I said, if you want to do YouTube, I will help you. I've been doing it for 9 years. Maybe you can make a little bit of money to help pay for your meat if you do a YouTube channel. And he never saw my comment back. And it just weighed with me. So a couple of weeks went by and I kept messaging him back. And YouTube comments are weird that way. Unless you explicitly look, sometimes you won't see the response. So I created a whole video. Attention, Bill Knott in Alaska, 700 pounds stuck in your house. I put a fat guy in the thumbnail and I blurred out his face. I said, attention, Bill in Alaska, just hoping that Bill would see it. He ended up seeing it. And I said, I want to help you. I want to do a fundraiser. I want to do all of this. And that's how we met. Long story, way too long. 3 weeks later, I was flying out to his house in Alaska filming him. That was over a year ago. I just got back from filming him. A lot of people are like, why does this documentary take so long? It's because we're filming people over the course of a year. It takes at least a year, right? So Bill just hit a year about a month ago. My daughter Emma and I flew to Alaska. We filmed him 1 year later. So after 5 years stuck in his house, Bill is down 260 pounds. And he's outside in the beauty of Alaska for the first time. You didn't see that in the trailer. That's going to be in the actual documentary. It's absolutely incredible. Like I was there, I was just crying. Like I was so happy for him. He lives in the most beautiful place in the world, Alaska, second only to Sweden, maybe. It is so beautiful in Alaska. He's just looking out his window for 5 years. And now he's outside and he's riding his four-wheeler. And all of the weight stuff aside, about 3 weeks into doing carnivore, he called me and he said, I'm not depressed anymore. Like I can feel my depression lifting for the first time in as long as he can remember. So he overcame just horrible clinical black hole depression and anxiety in a couple of weeks on carnivore. And he's like, that was worth it even more than the weight. Obviously the weight is important or he's not going to be able to go much longer at 700 pounds. But the fact that he overcame depression and anxiety is a theme we're going to have throughout the documentary. We're filming people with fertility issues, aging, type 2 diabetes, obesity, but almost every person also notices just this drastic improvement in mental health when they eat a proper human diet.
Wow. Do you have any planned dates for when it will be released, or?
We're aiming for the middle of next year. We're so close. Like with Bill's story, we filmed him for a week last year and a week last month. We have enough footage just to go back a step too. We have filmed 31 interviews. Bill's one of those. We filmed 31 other ones. We were down in Austin. We filmed so many individuals. We've been traveling all over the world. The reason it's taking so long, because I get this question all the time for people, the premise is to follow people over a year. Bill just hit a year. There's 2 other individuals we're following for a year, and they're not going to hit a year till the end of this year. So we have a couple of months before they hit a year. We're going to fly out, film them after 1 year. Then we hope to wrap everything up. And then we're filming Tammy Peterson in January. So we're hoping for like the middle of next year. Maybe the good news is, I keep telling people this, and I'm not patting myself on the back, but I'm telling people it's going to be worth the wait. And not because of anything I did. It's these individual stories. They're so powerful. Bill's story, when people hear Bill's story, we could do a documentary on Bill alone, but we've done 31 interviews, and every one of them just seems so powerful. We have so many stories and so much content. I can't do it justice in a documentary, or it'll be 8 hours long. So we're doing the best documentary we can. We want to do the best job we can because we want to reach millions of people that are hopeless. There's so many hopeless people in the world. But after that, we've already committed to this, and we've already started organizing and editing for this. We're going to be doing a series, a Healing Humanity series after the documentary, where you'll get an entire episode on whatever your health issue may be. One on obesity, one on type 2 diabetes, one on fertility issues. It'll be a whole episode on that. And then when we're done with that, which will probably never end, because in the last 2 months, I have just been inundated with just more and more incredible stories from people that are healing. I'm like, wait, we got to put this in the documentary. And then it's like, well, the documentary is never going to get done if we keep adding these on. So we're going to put it in a series. So besides the health issues, we're also going to do individual series as well. So if you're a big fan of Dr. Kiltz, we'll have a whole Dr. Kiltz episode just on that man's story as from a carnivore perspective and a doctor. If you're a fan of Bill Knott in Alaska, we'll have a whole episode of him. Everyone loves the woman Maggie. I don't know, you might have seen her in the trailer. She's the one that was
Yeah,
flexing.
yeah,
She's
yeah.
83.
Yeah.
She's been eating carnivore for 65 years. She's 83 years old and she's got blonde hair, she's got muscles. She could lift me up and carry me across the field. She's just like a next level human. It's unbelievable. So a lot of people are a big fan of her and they want to know about aging. Well, we're going to have a whole episode on aging and a whole episode just dedicated to Maggie. I imagine this healing humanity thing is just going to go on forever. I'm so passionate. I'm so fired up about it. I'm dedicating my life to it. It's like my purpose in life is to get these stories out. I keep getting messages from people like, this saved my life. I have heard it over and over and over again that changing their diet has saved their life, whether they were suicidally depressed and anxious or 700 pounds ready to have a heart attack stuck in their house. Over and over, literally, I'm not even exaggerating. Every day I get people telling me this saved their life or put them on a path to healing that they've never experienced before.
Yeah, that's so cool. And I think like the criticism that will come will probably be from people like in the middle, if you could say, like not vegans but people, and they will maybe say that, yeah, this is also propaganda like in Netflix for vegans, but this is for meat only. But then I would say like my response is, because then they say, yeah, you need to eat like a balanced diet and live a balanced life. But balance is only what that particular animal has eaten through millions of years. So if we only eating meat for millions of years, almost only, then that is the balanced diet. Like it's so,
Yes.
but I think those arguments will come at you, like it's a propaganda movie.
You're absolutely right. I get them already. I get a lot of plant-based vegan arguments and a lot in the middle of the road, like you just said. That's one of the biggest things people tell me in person or online. Why don't you just eat in moderation or balance? And your argument is perfect. And my other argument is, I don't know how anyone can argue with me. Initially, the documentary is going to be, let's do a carnivore diet documentary. Carnivore diet isn't even in the name anymore. It's healing humanity, the power of a proper human diet. And really what I'm advocating for isn't even a carnivore diet. It's just returning to what is natural for humans. And I believe, given the 60,000 options we have in the grocery store right now, the most natural thing we can eat is meat. And to your point, I believe we've been eating meat since the start of time. Dr. Barry told me, Kerry, we've been eating meat for as long as we've been breathing air and drinking water. How could it suddenly be dangerous or bad for us now? And my other argument that I think a lot of people need to become aware of is, I think there's almost this mass psychosis going on. I used to do it too, but you got to have your salad, you got to have your vegetables, you got to have your fruit. It's so good for you. I used to believe all of that. And maybe at one time it was true, but my argument, and I think it's a very important argument, is these fruits and vegetables have been modified or perverted or changed so much, they are nothing like what they used to be. So you eat an apple today, and it is literally a big ball of sugar. And that sugar, it breaks down as glucose in your bloodstream. I could eat 3 candy bars or a gigantic apple. My blood is not going to know the difference. It's going to all convert to glucose. The thing with fruits and vegetables that I learned from Rancher Maggie that we were talking about earlier, she's really passionate about this, is she's like, sure, you look at a carrot in the grocery store and it looks healthy. It's got a nice green leaf on it. But she's like, do you know, Kerry, that carrot probably has 1/7 the nutrients it would have had just 50 years ago, because we're destroying the soils of our earth with chemical farming and pesticides and glyphosate and forever chemicals. The soil is like dust now, and they just keep putting more and more chemicals on it. So the carrot looks pretty because they're putting fertilizer all over it, so you get this nice green leaf, but it has 1/7 the nutrients it would have had before. And then on top of it, this is the biggest thing, and I'm going down this rabbit hole more, but I used to think I'm doing so good on carnivore because I'm in a strict ketogenic diet. I'm not eating junk food. That's true, but I think a big piece of the puzzle that we have yet to understand is what's happening to our gut biome and gut bacteria. And when you're eating almost any produce, fruits or vegetables, you're ingesting glyphosate, which is an antibiotic. And a lot of people know you're not supposed to take antibiotics for a long time. Dr. Barry told me when I interviewed him, he's like, Kerry, every time someone eats a bowl of cereal, you're eating glyphosate. He's like, you can't even argue that. It's like, it's in everything. You go outside and take a deep breath of air, no matter where you are in the world right now, you could test that air and there's glyphosate in the air. So we're putting this antibiotic and we're ingesting it through these fruits and vegetables. And meanwhile, autism rates are through the roof, leaky gut, depression, anxiety, all of these issues are through the roof. So many people that are doing strict plant-based and they mean well, they see temporary healing because they get off of the standard American junk food, and then they start suffering and they have this leaky gut and they have these issues. And I think a big part of it is not just plants are trying to kill us, like Dr. Chafee talks about it. That's one part. Not just the pesticides we're ingesting, but the glyphosate's just everywhere. And then these fruits and vegetables have less and less nutrients than they ever did before. And lastly, sorry, I'm rambling now, but to your
No, no
point,
problem.
I've eaten nothing but meat for 550 days. I haven't had one fruit or vegetable. Every single measure, I am a million times healthier than I was before. I reversed congestive heart failure. That's in my medical records. I had an ejection fraction of 44. It's normal now. I could run a marathon right now. I could barely stand up before. But all my blood work, everything is a million times better. I don't go into the doctor and then they're like, oh, you really need to eat some vegetables because you're missing in this, you're deficient in this vitamin or mineral or whatever. I'm perfect on everything. I'm absolutely thriving. So we don't need fruits or vegetables. There's no essential carbohydrate. We could live solely on meat, and I have for 550 days, and you can't do that with plants. You will die unless you supplement. So I'm going to get that argument. I'm so sorry I'm rambling. I'll shut up now. The last thing I'll say is my argument back in the end of the documentary is going to be this. I'm not even telling you eat a carnivore diet. What I'm advocating for is return to what's natural. That's it. The best way for me that I found to do that is through a carnivore diet, given the options that we have in the world right now. Maybe that'll change in the future, but hopefully people, like if they get down to the facts, like who could argue with returning to what's natural for humans? It's like, as we've escaped from what's natural, we're just getting sicker and sicker, mainly through the foods we're eating.
Yeah, and here in Sweden, actually, some people, they think like you have some hidden motive on why you're doing the diet. Because the diet, it's not a diet, I don't think, but because there must be some other motive. It can't be like health. It must be because he thinks it's cool. He thinks it's masculine with meat or something like that. Like he wants to stand out or something, you know? But if I go to the grocery shop and buy meat, what is masculine about that, you know? You know, maybe if I go and with a spear and bow and hunt some animals, you know, okay, then I can understand, but it's like you need to have a hidden agenda, at least here, like, but they can't understand it's like only for health, and it's actually what I feel best eating.
Yes. Yeah, it's so true. I did a video a while ago saying we should stop calling it a diet. I call it a diet too. It's so much more than that. Because I'll get people that'll say, well, Kerry, you've seen all this healing. That's great. You lost 100 pounds since your heaviest, but they'll say, I don't feel like I need to lose weight, so I don't have to do a diet like that. Like, it's almost insulting when people think that this is they look at it when they say that. I know diet means what a species eats. I understand that. But a lot of humans, a lot of Americans anyways, when they say the word diet, they're referring to, I'm going to do this temporary chore to drop a couple pounds, and then I'm going to go back to doing what I was before. And that's not what a proper human diet is. This is like, I've already lost the weight, so why not just go back? I'm continuing to do it because of all of the other health reasons. My brain fog is completely gone. My mental clarity is just through the roof. It's like, it's takes your brain to another level that I think people can't understand. You don't know what you don't know. So until they're there, they don't understand how powerful it is. But I would continue doing this if I gained my 100 pounds back and I had a lot of my other issues, just for the clarity of mind that I have without that brain fog anymore.
Yeah, I can feel you're very radiant and very energetic. Was it like that before, or it's different?
No, I appreciate the comment. I laugh a little bit too because people always say that, and I'm like, man, I hate like trying to hype up this whole carnivore thing, but I was hopelessly depressed before this. I was sitting on my couch for like a year. 18 months before doing carnivore, I had gout so bad in my foot I could barely step down. I could hardly leave the house. When I'd go to the store, I'd have to ride around in a mobility scooter. I equate it to, I feel like I was just in a prison, like a hopeless prison, and this is the way it's going to be forever. Like, I've been sick for so long, I'm going to be sick this way forever. And to find this incredible healing so quickly, I got passionate about it for that reason. I got passionate because This has healed my own family, two of my daughters, not just Emma, my other daughter Lily as well. And then the carnivore energy starts to come on, and it's like, and then people start coming to me and saying, this healed me, this saved my life. And all of those things combined, it's hard not to be fired up and passionate about it. I started interviewing people on my channel too. And the interesting thing that I found is I question everyone's motivations. Just because I was so sick for so long, I'd go to the doctor, they'd give me pills. What's their motivation to get me on a statin? What's their motivation to tell me this? Usually it's money. But I've probably talked to well over 100 carnivores on my channel, and every one of them, they're just they don't have anything to even promote. They're so excited that they found healing. They want that for other people. Their motivation is to have other people heal like they did. It's so pure and it's pretty awesome, and it keeps me going, keeps me fired up to keep doing this. So for people that are concerned, like, why are they doing this? Just use your own two eyes. Question people's motivations. Like, you could go watch Dr. Berry videos and question his motivations, and you could make some arguments, but you could literally figure out everything that I'm telling you to do with a free YouTube video that you don't have to pay a penny for, or even give your email address for. You can just go watch it. It's just free information because people are so passionate about it.
Yeah, so true. So I wanted to talk to you a little bit about like the carnivore community as a whole, because I think you are, you know a lot about it. And as of late, it's been like more and more people know the carnivore diet, at least in Sweden, because of the like TikTok posts with the carnivore females eating meat and stuff. That's actually getting so much exposure. But what is your take on the like carnivore community as a whole? What do you think there is something we can do better, or what are we doing good?
Yeah, I think the carnivore community is pretty awesome. I guess everything with technology and social media, there's good and then there's bad. But I'm finding it overwhelmingly good, especially some of these doctors. A lot of the carnivore content that I consume, I started with some individuals, and there's quite a few individuals that I still do follow that I really respect and like. But these good doctors, they're putting out some good info. Some of these doctors, Dr. Berry, Dr. Chafee, I would say, I think whether you're consuming carnivore content or joining a group, it's very important to have some sort of community, because us carnivores, we're the odd ones out. We're living in a world where we're really abnormal and everyone's eating sugar. It's like if you were addicted to alcohol and tried to quit, people would help you for the most part. If you're addicted to the standard American diet, which, by the way, pretty much everyone is except for us carnivores, nobody wants to help you. You're like, oh, whatever. Like you're being a drama queen or whatever. You're trying to quit sugar. You don't get any help whatsoever. So having some sort of community is helpful. There's some groups out there that can be really helpful for people, but some of those cost money, but there's a lot of free ones. There's free groups on Facebook that you can join. So I would say that about the carnivore community. If you're just getting started on this, it is great to have someone to kind of toss ideas out on and things like that. Some of that can cost money because some of these groups do charge money. I was a member of, I still am. I'm a member of Dr. Berry's group. My wife started carnivore about 150 days ago, and she really liked Bella Steak and Butter Gang, so she joined her group. I think it's like $30 a month, and that's expensive for some people. I know it's a lot of money, but for me, I'm like, if that could change your life forever, and you could get away with, in some cases, maybe just doing it for 1 month. $30 is doable, but even if you don't want to pay, there's so many free groups on Facebook. So I would say be cautious and be careful and kind of hone in on what's going to help you the best. For me, it's been the good doctors, Dr. Berry in particular, Dr. Chafee. A lot of these doctors too, if you have very unique questions that you can't find the answers to, you can go on and do like a live stream, like Dr. Chafee and Dr. Berry. They do weekly live streams where you can just post a question to one of the doctors and ask them. So I would say that the community is pretty good. There's some weird stuff out there. There's some people maybe just jumping on the bandwagon sort of thing. Oh, I'll say one bad thing. How about this? I try to keep it positive, but in terms of the carnivore community, there's a few channels where they kind of specialize in, maybe they had some success on carnivore and then for one reason or another they dropped off, but they continue trying to do it. And there's this almost this culture of it's okay to just fail on carnivore over and over and over again. I'm not going to name names, but there's a couple channels I've come across like that, where it's like, you guys have been doing carnivore for 3 years now, and every video is, I cheated again. Oh, one more cheat. It's not so bad. And I guess just to be clear, if you fall off the wagon on carnivore, there's no judgment from me. Like jump on and get back to it again. But I don't want to mislead people who are just starting and they're trying this for 30 days to get a week into it and then go have a piece of pie or something like that. It's totally different if you're on carnivore. You can't, it's not like Weight Watchers where you do really good for a week and then you counted your points and you can have a little cheat day. You'll knock yourself out of ketosis. It could take another week to get back in. You could mess up your gut bacteria. Like there's all sorts of effects if you cheat on carnivore. So uh, I would say pick and choose carefully. Focus on the doctors when you're just starting. And if you have any concerns about starting carnivore, I can almost promise you your concerns have been asked and answered. Just do the research. There's a lot of people will start it and they'll be confused about something. They'll just go and I'm like, you could have just typed that like Dr. Berry fiber or Dr. Ovadia cholesterol, and you could have your questions answered to make sure that you're doing things properly and right. There's so much good content out there if you dig in and look to it.
Yeah, right. Um, I think like it can be hard with the balance, like Paul Saladino, he's pushing more like fruits and honey and stuff. And also now he's even more liberal. I've seen like, yeah, if you eat rice, then you should eat it like this. But uh, but then again, yeah, maybe some people like Dr. Shafee, it's like only meat, you know. Maybe some think
Right.
it's too hard, if you know what I mean. So I think it's good with different like channels to with so that different people can take the information that way.
Right. I always encourage people like if you're going to do carnivore, do it. Some people will say, I'm going to do it for 30 days, and then they still keep their Diet Coke or they have a little bit of the fruit because they saw Paul Saladino. Paul Saladino did that after doing strict carnivore for a long time. So I always encourage people, this is the ultimate elimination diet. You're never going to know how good you can feel unless you do it 100%. I always tell people, try 30 days. Keep in the back of your head, maybe you'll add something back in later or whatever, but give it a real true test for 30 days. See how you feel after 30 days and reassess. I was convinced when I started, like I'm like on day 31, I'm going to go back into clean keto. I'm going to have salad. I'm going to bring all this stuff back. And on day 31, I felt so incredible, like life-changing, incredible. I'm like, why would I mess with this? Like, let's just go another 30 days and maybe on day 61, I'll do that sort of thing. And I hear that from a lot of people.
Did you do the common mistakes at the beginning, like too little fat or maybe too little electrolytes and stuff, or did you have all the information and just go?
I did pretty darn well, but the biggest mistake that I made was not enough fat.
Yeah.
And I learned from interviewing Dr. Kiltz later on, and this is a good lesson for anyone new that's thinking of starting. Dr. Kiltz said it should be called fativore. It's all about the fat. A lot of people will tell me, Kerry, I did carnivore just like you, and I'm not losing weight, or I'm tired and I'm fatigued. And oftentimes when I investigate, they aren't doing carnivore like I'm doing now. They're eating a bunch of chicken breast and fish, and those are animal products. So I guess it's carnivore, but you got to get fat. It's all about getting enough fat. And yeah, that was one thing. I was pretty good about it, and I think, but not good enough. Like that was one of my biggest epiphanies after doing this for a while. It's like, and now it's to the point where that's all I really care about. When I first started, I have some chicken, I have some salmon, I have the chicken breast here, there, or whatever. I don't even eat any of that anymore. It's like my body's just thriving off of the fatty meat and eating the fat. So you'll be able to hear your body more once you do this for a while. There's a lot less signals going in. Like on the standard American diet, I would never know like what caused this issue or that issue because I'm putting so much garbage into my body throughout the day.
Yeah, yeah. And I've been to like other communities, so to speak, like fitness community, and I would say that community is like one of the most brainwashed when it comes to diet. I'm gonna be honest. Like
Yes.
when they see my diet and I still like work out at the gym, they like, how can you work out if you don't have carbohydrates? You know, it's even worse than with the vegetable thing. Like you need carbs, that type of thing in the in that community. It's so much they push it. You know.
Yeah. Yeah, it's insane. It's so backwards. Luckily, there's a lot more athletes coming out with this. It's interesting. Like, I know this is anecdotal, but all of my doctors that prescribed these were extremely unhealthy. And then it's like, why should I be taking advice from you if you can't follow your own advice? I always thought that in my head. And now you look at Dr. Baker in his 50s breaking world records. You look at Dr. Chafee, and the guy's just ripped. And
Yeah.
they've been doing this for a long time. So I know that's anecdotal, but then if you go on Dr. Chafee's channel, he's interviewed a lot of athletes. I just did an interview with a gentleman named Tony, and he was saying this too. He was talking to someone. They went to some fitness retreat, and they gave him this big baggie. It was just full of junk food. There's Pringles in it, and all sorts of just garbage carbohydrate food. And they're so indoctrinated into that belief. One of the things that really frustrated me, I'm getting more into working out the more I get into carnivore, but I never did it before. And when I was 100 pounds heavier than I was, the message that I would get oftentimes, friends, family, or the media or wherever, is like, you got to just exercise more. Go on the treadmill,
Yeah.
lose some weight. And I'm so mad. Like, I want people to know right now, if you're 100 pounds heavier than you should be, like I used to, and people are telling you the only way you're going to lose this weight is to run on a treadmill or get a gym membership. It's a lie. It is so wrong. Of course, exercise is great for you. I'm not saying it's not. But when you're 100 pounds heavier and you got brain fog and fatigue and IBS, you are sick and your body wants to heal before you're going to start having the energy to exercise. So I didn't lose a pound and I stopped snoring. And I didn't lose a pound by exercising. I never exercised. Like almost the entire 100 pounds I lost eating a proper human diet was 100% nutrition. It wasn't anything to do with exercise. Once I healed my body, I wanted to exercise more. It always just breaks my heart. Like nowadays, when I'm outside, I just rode my bike here to the movie theater, and I saw a woman jogging by, and you see someone jogging by and they're overweight. I'm like, good for you. That's awesome. You're trying. But then on the flip side, I feel bad because I think of myself, and if that was me, I'd be like, I just did a good job exercising. And then I'm going to go home and I'm going to eat some more junk food. And it's like 99% of that issue was the nutrition.
Yeah.
And so many people think it's the exercise. And like I said, exercise is incredibly important. I'm not saying it's not, but telling people that are 100 pounds overweight, your only hope is going to run on the treadmill when they can barely get off the couch is foolish advice. And it was wrong, not just in my case. I've talked to so many people, and I'll say pretty similar to my story. Like, I didn't exercise till I started healing. And when I started exercising too, it wasn't like I need to exercise. I had this excess carnivore energy. I'm like, I'm going to be up till 3 in the morning. Like, let's go. I got to do something sort of thing. And I just naturally wanted to exercise, and I started feeling better as I was doing it.
Exactly. And in the beginning, I think if you're like very overweight, then just going for walks, and then you can listen to podcasts at the same time and learning more about the carnivore diet. So you get like
Yes.
2 in 1 in that
Yes,
way.
and you're doing other things too that people start doing on carnivore. So if you're overweight, you could just go for a walk, listen to the podcast, you're learning, but now you're getting natural sunlight in your eyes, something
Yeah.
that we're missing. These are some of the things I started doing after carnivore. I'm like, I'm so healthy on carnivore because I'm returning to what's natural for humans. I'm eating a proper human diet without glyphosates, pesticides, sugar, highly inflammatory food. What else can I do that's natural for humans? And it's like sitting and staring at this phone all day and under fluorescent lights for 12 hours isn't natural. So I started getting out more. Like every morning the sun comes out, let the sun hit the eyes, get that vitamin D. It's so good for you. And for as long as we've been eating meat, drinking water and breathing air, like Dr. Ken Berry says, for most of that time, we were outside, we were getting sunshine, we were getting fresh air, we were doing like proper human activities. So yeah, that's really good advice. Get out there, walk, educate yourself, get some sunlight, just baby steps.
Exactly. And it's so interesting that when you look at the literature, like exercise, of course, it's good, as you say, in the correct proportions, not too much. But when you look at the literature, a lot of it is sponsored by like Coca-Cola and big food companies. It's like when I realized that, it was like, wow. It's like they want you to have a different direction, like calories in, calories out, and have that mind. Oh, so then I can, if it fit your macros, and they can get like the fitness community and everyone that want to lose weight to count calories and still eat their garbage shit and still think that they will lose weight. So it's like a strategy for them also.
It works brilliantly too, sadly. I got a good friend of mine, a cousin. He was always very athletic. He played baseball, golf all the time. And every like couple hours he's eating a Snickers bar, drinking a Gatorade, and he's like, I gotta get that energy back for the back nine on the golf course or whatever. And I never thought anything of it until now that I'm thinking more clearly. I'm like, he's just one of those people that whole calories in, calories out, got to get some energy sort of thing.
Yeah, and I've actually done like a video on my channel in Swedish, but on calories, because even in carnivore community, I think it's a lot of confusion, and people still say like calories in, calories out, you know.
Oh,
Yeah.
it drives me nuts. It drives me absolutely. It's so like I feel like you could have like a 7-year-old kid and explain it to them and they'd be like, oh, that makes sense. But everyone's still talking about calories in, calories out. They say it to me all the time. I get it in my comments. They're like, that's great. You lost all the weight on carnivore. The only reason you did is because it was a calorie restriction. You're eating meat, but you're eating less.
Yeah.
It's the argument I would say back to them in the comments is, so if I have 1,000 calories of highly processed Oreo cookies that are full of sugar, processed ingredients I can't pronounce, there's soy in there. Those are going to affect my hormones. Those are going to affect my insulin. And I eat 1,000 calories of meat. That's the exact same thing. I eat those Oreos 2 hours later, I'm hungry again. My insulin's going up and down. It's messing with my hormones. It's messing with my gut bacteria. It's so much deeper than just calories in, calories out. The same argument also, by the way, holds true for cholesterol. I interviewed Dr. Philip Ovadia, the heart surgeon, for our documentary, and I was asking him about cholesterol, and he said the biggest mistake people make with cholesterol is they treat it all the same. They look at the quantity of cholesterol instead of the quality. And he's like, the quality matters. There's different dense particles of cholesterol. There's big puffy ones. It's the quality that matters. And I think it's the same thing with the calories. It's the quality of the calories. There's no, I don't know how people can like with a straight face say 1,000 calories of Oreo cookies is the same as 1,000 calories of a fatty ribeye. It's an absolute joke. I get it all the time still too. There's just so much misinformation out there.
Yeah, and there was like one study when they had Oreo cookies and it lowers the LDL cholesterol. And so,
Yeah,
it's better with that.
right.
But I wanted to ask you, I forgot later, you told us about gout. Have you researched that or talked with a doctor that knows? Because you hear like meat is causing gout. And I
Yeah.
think it's hard to find good information on gout because I don't know if it's that researched.
It is. It's very hard to find good information.
Yeah.
So I was diagnosed with gout 18 months before I started carnivore. And it was one day I was just standing, and all of a sudden I just had this excruciating pain in my right foot, the second toe, to the point it felt like I broke it. Like it was so weird. Anytime I put pressure down on it, it felt like a fractured bone. It hurt so bad. For the first couple of days, I actually had to use crutches because I couldn't put any weight down on it. And then I went to a doctor, and he's my dad had gout. So he asked my family history, and as soon as I said my dad had gout, he's like, "Yeah, you definitely got gout." And then they gave me, here's some medicine for the gout. And they told me it's going to take a while before it'll do anything. I took the medicine. It did nothing. It still hurt over and over again. Then they upped the dosage. Then they changed the dosage. Then they did injections. Then I got sick of it like after 6 months later. It just hurt so bad. I went to another specialist, and he's like, yeah, I think that's gout too. All these guys, they're never sure. It's like, it probably is, family history, whatever. I'm pretty sure that's gout. They took x-rays. They like looked at everything. I think it's gout. Then I went to a third guy, and this was around, I don't know, a couple months, 14, 15 months into the pain. And the guy's like, I don't think that's gout. He said, I think you just got a ton of inflammation right in that toe. It's all centered in there. I don't know why, but we can do surgery. We can cut that joint. We'll put like a little ball bearing in there. We'll put it back together, and then that should temporarily help. So I don't even know if I had gout. I had these two guys saying I was diagnosed with it, but from guys that are like, I think it was gout. And the only thing I could tell you is I was so close to getting that surgery. I tried every gout medication. Some of those medications that alpurinol, I remember, was one of them. Cholecystine, I think, was another. I had injections in the toe that gave me relief for like 3 weeks. It was excruciating pain. And that was the longest thing on carnivore that took to go. It was about 70 days. But it slowly could get better, better, better. But I remember on day 7, I'm like, my foot doesn't hurt anymore. It's been 18 months of pain. It doesn't hurt anymore. Dr. Barry has done a video on gout, and I think it's pretty darn good. So I'd encourage people to Google Dr. Barry gout video. And I believe, if I remember correctly, he was talking about No, it's just inflammation. Most people have gout from inflammation and meat's getting blamed from it.
Yeah.
I get so many people that say, I can't do carnivore. I don't want to get gout, or I had gout before. And I'm like, I had gout and carnivore is the only thing that fixed it for me. And I have talked to, I want to say maybe 20 or 30 people now that said they had gout and they cured it on carnivore. Like, I know cure is a big word, or healed it or reversed it or whatever, but I have heard it over and over and over again. So I don't think, honestly, it sounds kind of arrogant, but a lot of these doctors just frankly don't know what they're talking about. And use your own two eyes when your doctor's telling you, like he was telling me. I wish I would have paid more attention, but he basically was like, all right, it's probably gout. Your dad had it, so you probably had it. Like, probably, okay, you're not sure. But no, the root cause of my inflammation was uh, the food I was eating. I changed my diet and it went away. And this was one of the most powerful things I learned on carnivore. For anyone that's new here, if it ends in itis, arthritis, colitis, appendicitis, itis means inflammation. And our bodies are riddled with inflammation. And people that are worried about us doing the carnivore diet because we're going to have a heart attack, they should be worried about their body being in a constant state of systemic inflammation. You look around in the world right now, almost everyone, I think it's like 92% of people, have poor metabolic health. Their bodies are just ravaged with inflammation, and that can manifest in many ways. I had lower back pain as well that went away on carnivore that I thought was this slip disc. I thought it was an injury I had in high school. I had it for decades. It went away on carnivore. It was just inflammation. So that inflammation goes away so quickly for so many people on carnivore. Like, that is a reason to try a proper human diet alone. I think part of it's inflammation in our brains too, that brain fog goes away. But people report this so much that I didn't even realize this elbow was hurting because it hurt for 20 years. It became my new normal. I didn't realize until it went away on carnivore. Things like that are pretty incredible.
Yeah, and I'm studying for like physiotherapy, and a lot of like a lot, but some of the problems there, it is that we believe that some of the illnesses are mechanical problems. Like you say, like it's a joint problem. I need to work out the correct angle and I need to do rehab. But I know like it's a biochemical problem. It has to do with diet.
Right.
But but it's very hard because you can't like always say that open, you know.
Yeah.
Same with we had actually today. There was a guy talking about EDS. I'm not sure if you heard of this.
I have.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah, yeah. So I believe
It's like the electrical.
it's the fascia. It's very mobile. It's too mobile, so it gets you get all sorts of problem because your body can't like hold together. But of course, that didn't exist before. So I believe, and they say, okay, you should work out this, you should do this with your neck, so it doesn't like get problems because it's very sensitive when you don't have any fascia in here in the neck, upper neck. So we get all of this intervention, like going around the problem, you know. And they can do as much. It doesn't matter if they do like 1,000 papers. If they don't lift the correct stone, it doesn't matter, you know.
Yes. Yeah, I'm with you. That's going to be the big takeaway from the documentary. The big one is return to a natural human diet. The other takeaway for people is if your doctor is not treating the root cause of the problem, you should probably find another doctor. There's so many people suffering. Like these pills, it started out as just one or two pills, and then I got more side effects, and then there was more pills and more pills. And why did I have all of those? Because not one of those ever treated the root cause of the problem. And in almost every instance, so many cases of people being sick, the root causes are nutrition. And for things that people just they would never understand or believe, like you had just mentioned, the people that we're going to have in the documentary, some of these are incredible. We have a woman that had Parkinson's.
Mm.
She had a stroke. She had rheumatoid arthritis. She could barely walk, and she's like walking now. You think walking, mobility issues from the food you're eating? It's everything like is centered on the gut and the food we're eating. There's so much. So hopefully we'll open people's eyes up to that some more. But I've always hated it when people go to the doctor, myself included, and they throw their hands up in the air to the doctor and they're like, this is just genetic, or this is just something weird with you. You have a defect. Therefore, the only solution is this medication. and it steers them in the wrong path, and then they never address the root cause of the problem, and it perpetuates their suffering. Like they just continue suffering as they're taking this medication, and it's never going to treat it. So it's so important. Like that's going to be the biggest takeaway I think from the documentary is make sure you're addressing the root cause of the problem, not putting a temporary band-aid on it with a medication that's probably not going to help you.
Exactly. Yeah, I'm really looking forward to it. Will it be like, where can you see it? Is it cinema? Is it Netflix? Or can you download? Or
Yeah, we're still working on that right now. A lot of times, a person will make an entire documentary and then release it at film festivals and then get picked up by a studio. Our goals are pretty high. We want to get it on the big screen first and then like a hybrid, then on a streaming service. The ultimate goal is I don't care where it is. Initially, I had said Netflix. And then a lot of people are like, good luck. Like Netflix is all blue zones, plant-based. They're probably not going to show it. The only reason I said Netflix is I want to reach millions of people. I want to reach the most people we possibly can that are hopeless. So, but we are hoping to get on the big screen first. My wife and I, we own our small town movie theater, and we've owned it for 2 years now. So we're definitely going to play it here, but we're hoping to get it in theaters across the world. We're trying to work with Angel Studios, which is this a studio kind of doing things differently, but they've had several movies on the big screen, including recently a documentary. So that's the plan right now. And then we'll probably just release it to the general public after that. Like the whole goal, none of the goal is to make any money. I've consulted with a lot of documentary filmmakers, and they all laugh about making money with a documentary. You're almost always, even the best documentaries, you're almost always losing money. You're lucky at the end of it if you have any gas money left to pay for the gas. So it's not a money-making thing. It's trying to reach as many people as we can. So eventually it'll be hopefully on the big screen, then streaming, and then just like free for everyone on a website so we can reach the most people as possible.
nice. And of course, you can donate to the documentary, and I will link everything here down below for you and the trailer. So, but
Yeah, I appreciate that. Yeah, if people want to learn more, it's healinghumanity.movie. And there's still, if people want to register and share their story, they can do that on the website. May not necessarily go in the documentary, but like I said, we're doing the series ongoing. And the trailer and stuff is on that website too, healinghumanity.movie.
nice. So I don't have any more questions. Is there anything you want to add before we wrap up?
No, I thank you very much for the opportunity. I really appreciate it. I would love to get out to Sweden at some time.
You should.
We're trying to, I'm going to be going to Australia and I'm hoping to England at some time. There's a lot of carnivores out there. But once we get the documentary out, we're hoping to travel around and premiere it maybe in like small single screen movie theaters around the world and then do like a big carnivore meetup at each one. So maybe we can cross paths in Sweden sometime. I'd love to visit for sure.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah,
Yeah,
so
I really appreciate you having me on here too. So thank you.
yeah, of course. Thank you for coming on. And I would just like to say thank you very much for your work for humanity. And yeah, I love your energy. It inspires me.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much. I appreciate that.
Yeah. And thank you to you who have listened, and hope you find it hope you enjoyed it. Thank you. Bye.